Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight for our Village of Alsip committee meeting. Today is May 22nd, 2023. We'll call this meeting order at 7:47 p.m. Can you call the roll, please?
Trustee Dalzell?
Here.
Trustee Juarez Mendoza is absent. Trustee McLaughlin?
Here.
Trustee Murphy?
Here.
Trustee Navas Barza?
Here.
Trustee Peretta?
Here.
Mayor Ryan?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm sorry, we got our meeting started a few minutes late here. We had a committee meeting before this with the police department. It ran a little bit long. We'll start with our officers' reports, starting with mine. Pardon me? Oh, I'm sorry. You're right here. You're right. We have a bid opening to start the meeting. Citywide tree inventory.
We had one come in from Great Lakes Urban Forestry Management, located at 1485 Lewis Bork Drive, Unit 113, Batavia, Illinois 60510.
Mike, can you explain? Can you grab a mic here and just explain what a tree inventory is for folks?
So this will be a GPS positioned and also data collected on each parkway tree throughout the village. It'll determine its location and then also its species, diameter, and risk assessment, so the condition of the tree, whether it needs to come down, if it's diseased, or if there's good planting spaces within the parkway for additional trees or not. But it'll collect all that data.
And just in case anybody asks, is that a mandate that you have to do that too?
It's not a mandate, no, but it certainly helps with us with our management of forestry for tree removals and trimmings, so we can identify areas that are deemed more hazardous than others, maybe. So take some of that liability off.
Okay, thanks.
All right, I do not see a bid bond. I don't know if that was a requirement. Their totals are two individual prices and then a lump sum. They charge $4.25 for each tree inventoried, $1 for each plantable space inventoried, for a completion lump sum of $34,250. That's 34250.00. And those are the only bids we received.
Okay, thanks, Mike. So starting with officers' reports, starting with mine. First, we're going to have this posted out on our bulletin board, but CETA, that's the Community and Economic Development Association, based out of Harvey over here, they've got they're currently accepting applications for the fall semester for students enrolled in full-time college or university in Illinois by September 15th may qualify for a scholarship. Recipients must have a primary residence in suburban Cook County and meet the established income guidelines. Scholarships range from $500 to $3,000 for payment of tuition, books, uniforms, and fees related to course study. In addition, scholarships are paid directly to the designated institutions on behalf of the applicant. And I'll put all the criteria on our bulletin board out there so folks can take a look at this, and we'll post it on social media as well, too. Next, we had, I just let everybody know that we did have a piece of art that a gentleman approached me with years ago that's reflective of our community and parts of our who's in our community at the Mary Schmidt Community Sanctuary. We'll post this picture. I'll pass it around so everybody sees it. But we had an artist. He's actually from Oak Lawn, and he had a piece designed that was actually reflective of a guitar and a porch, and the neck of the guitar is actually a pitchfork, and that was to symbolize obviously two things: the working class community of Alsip that we are, and the fact that Muddy Waters is final resting places here in the village as well then too. It's a nice piece and mixes well with the natural landscape at the sanctuary, because it's almost all wildflowers, so it's all kind of tall grass that's out there then too. What I'd like to do moving forward, it's just one piece out there, but I really like some input from the community or the board. I'd like to establish maybe a 3-person committee to help qualify other future pieces that might be put out there yet too. So certainly I'm just mentioning this evening, but I'll be bringing this back up at the next committee meeting. So if anybody wants to participate in this committee, please let me know. And I want to see how many board members are interested in doing it. We may open it up to certain stakeholders in the public as well too, to see if they'd like to participate in a committee like this. Next, and then last we had, at the same place, my assistant Becky Smith is working with an organization right now repurposing wind farm windmills. Like when they replace these windmills, the materials used on those windmills have got, like, inside there is got like a fiber material, and those are repurposed for like park benches and so forth. And we're looking to use those in the Mary Schmidt Community Sanctuary for seating, because it's just a walking path on wood chips. Mike, I know you ordered you ordered a table and stuff though too, right? What's the disposition of the like I said, the benches? Where's that at right now? Do you know? Did Becky share it with you?
With that company?
Yeah.
Yes, she did. As far as I know, they wouldn't be able
Mike, can you get on Mike? I'm sorry, and just because people aren't hearing what you're saying.
to the best of my knowledge, nothing would be available until sometime after August.
Okay. Okay, I just know she was talking with them. I didn't get a final on that.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yep.
All right.
They
Thanks.
provided some pricing on almost every piece that they offer, but they said that they're looking for donors that would be able to possibly donate like an 8-piece furniture set for out there.
To promote at the sanctuary.
Correct.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. And lastly, well, 2 things. One, today our new finance director started, Maria Alexichuk. So certainly we'll be bringing around and introduce her to staff. If you haven't met her already, please say hello to Maria. She's upstairs now. And then we did receive notice this afternoon that my office, certainly with the help of Becky Smith, we received the approved certification from the state to destroy all that documentation that we utilize datamation for. All that information has been scanned, sent to IT, and been put in the Laserfish. She double-checked and confirmed with Brian in IT that all the documents are secured in the Laserfish system, and according to the approval certification, it states that we can destroy the documents after June 3rd. So we appreciate the timeliness of the state helping us with that, and certainly for Becky Smith getting that task done. And that's all I have for this evening. Clerk's report, Clerk Hardy.
Thank you, Mayor. I have the presentation of the April 2023 IDOT motor fuel tax allotment in the amount of $67,727.11, and the presentation of the May 15th, 2023 board meeting minutes, and that is all I had, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. We don't have an attorney, and the engineer is absent this evening. Public forum, did anyone in the audience wish to address the board? Sir, did you want to address the board this evening? No. You could just speak into the mic and just speak to all of us, sure.
Well, this is my first board meeting, and
Sure.
I've been wanting to come. So, and not being a property owner, I pay rent, so I hope that doesn't exclude me.
Not at all.
No.
Not at all. You're a resident. That's what counts, yeah.
Well, I have been putting this off for the longest because I've been living in Alsip since 2016. I had formerly lived in Marinette Park. And I retired from my second job in 2020. I was working for FedEx Express out at O'Hare.
Mm-hmm.
And with the pandemic and everything, and it's starting to lift, I'm getting a good look at the surroundings of what's really happening. and it's really not good. In fact, it's a little bit frightening. And like I said, when I was working at FedEx at O'Hare, especially in the wintertime, I would spend my time out there because, why go from there to here, and back. So in the summer times, I would just be going back and forth. So like I said, I really didn't look good at the situation until really, after the pandemic. And it's frightening. And then especially, the summer months are coming up, and I was just wondering, can there be a collaborative effort between the Alsip police and the Marinette Park police? Because I know it's a thin line, like especially where I live, because I'm at 119th Street. In fact, I'm at 11900 South Central Park Avenue.
Okay.
And I know it's it's got to be a dividing line there. So, and when you hear because a good friend of mine, she was elected board trustee in University Park. She scolded me on this. She says, when you hear shooting, just call the police up. Can you do that? Because last week I heard nothing but bang, 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 bang. I know those weren't firecrackers. Okay, so call you guys up, because the sounds more like they were from Marinette Park than they were, from inside Alsip. So when I call 911, would they let them know in Marinette Park that, something
Chief, I'll
like
have to
that's
let you
going on?
answer that, yeah.
Sir, if you hear what you think is gunshots, please call 911. We'll handle it from there. As long as we have your address, if we think it came from a Marinette Park, we'll coordinate with them. We talk with them on a regular basis, and we back each other up all the time. So that's not your problem to worry about. Just call when you hear something, and we'll figure it out from there.
Okay. And one more thing, too. If we're going to have any festivities in Alsip, is there going to be enough police? Because I think everybody in this room saw what happened in Tinley Park.
Oh, that was
That
nonsense.
flash
Yeah,
mob. See,
yeah.
that's trash. That's trash.
Oh, certainly, sir. You know what?
And I may be demonizing the youth, but I'm sorry. My generation wasn't brought up that way. Okay.
I'm in agreement with you 100%.
We had moral
Yeah.
values.
Right.
Okay.
No, I totally agree with you, and I don't think there's anybody here that would disagree. But no, sir, you're on point, and certainly when there are events in town, and we only do a couple of them here in town. I know typically the Park District will have like their Fun Fest, and like right around, when's that, Chief? Right before the 4th of July, like end of June?
It's right before Father's Day. It's that Saturday before Father's Day.
Saturday before Father's Day in June. And then last year, first time we did what's known as a Fall Fest, and I believe we're looking at that idea again then too. That's still a little bit sketchy what's going to happen there, but we bring out all the folks that we need to do that and stuff then too. So crossing our fingers, yes, that we don't have an issue like similar to that, but no, we certainly defer to the police and fire departments to deploy the amount of people we need out there yet too. But unfortunately, we haven't had that situation. I don't believe Tinley Park ever did too. And I'm not privy to share a meeting that we had before this one when you came in, but we're looking at ideas to help us on that same agenda.
Well, I'm not going to take up too much time.
No,
That was the
that's
main thing.
no.
I just wanted to get off my chest.
No, we appreciate you coming out to a meeting like that, and certainly you're a resident, and even if you weren't, you have every right to come out and share things with us and stuff yet too. So thanks for coming out. Do me a favor though, could you just sign in just so the clerk knows who spoke today? That's all. Thanks, sir. Thanks, Chief. Next, we'll go to our standing committee reports. We'll start with Finance and IT. Trustee McGlohan.
I will have the usual list of payroll and accounts payable for approval next week, and that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Fire committee report. Trustee Murphy.
I have the discussion of the price increase for the new fire engine, and tonight we have Deputy Chief Ricker. Chief?
Have a good night, sir.
Thank you.
I do know that they've got a conference call scheduled, I think, for this Friday, Mayor.
Yeah, Chief, what time is that? Do you know? Friday?
If I remember correctly, I think it was 10 o'clock.
In the morning? Okay.
Yeah, I can double check because I scheduled it. Yeah, 10 a.m.
Okay. So, board, the chief, Chief Szynski is out of town tonight, but I guess the bottom line, too, is rather than just waiting 5 days to have this conversation and then coming back to you folks, and ultimately, we understand the premise of what the problem is. We got a letter from,
Right.
that the chief shared with us at the last meeting, and I've got it here just to say that, just as a reminder to anybody that didn't hear it, Chief Szynski will reach out to advise you that the manufacture and delivery of your apparatus at the original quoted price has become commercially impractical. We have experienced severe shortages on materials, labor, and severe increases in cost of materials, freight, and labor. These shortages, increases, and related disruptions have occurred and persisted to a degree that could not have been reasonably anticipated at the time your apparatus was priced. In other words, we signed an agreement to purchase this back in November of 2021. Seagrave greatly values your business and is committed to manufacturing custom apparatus. We ask that you accept a material price increase in the amount of $103,307 over the contracted price. And the decision to request your acceptance of the material price increase has come only after much consideration and extensive efforts to mitigate the impact of these unprecedented disruptions in the supply chain and labor market. We've got the names of the representatives on here. We kindly ask for your response to this request within 30 days of the letter. After this time, we will assume that you are electing to wait longer for your unit to be produced, which, Chief, I don't really understand that part. At first, it starts off as material and so forth, but then all of a sudden...
Right. Well, going on what they're saying is if you decide not to move forward with it, we get pushed back further in the line, until a decision's made.
I see.
So,
Okay.
The current, build times for these things have gone from, they used to be 8 to 12 months. They're now out beyond 2 years or better.
Right. Which is why we signed that agreement early. We haven't put any
Absolutely.
money into this, and which surprised me a little bit that they didn't ask for a deposit on this thing. It was
No, they
progressive billing.
never do.
Yeah, it was progressive billing. When they chassis it, they ask for 25%. When they drop a motor in it, they ask for 25%. This is to
Well-
build a fire truck.
And that's part of, I guess, what's disturbing with this as well, is we're already 18 months in, and they haven't started anything yet.
Right.
And-
Right, and that's the problem is, there was such a delay during COVID that it backed up everything. Ambulances, fire engines, everything. We can't even get nozzles in any reasonable amount of time. We're waiting 5 and 6 months for just nozzles for hose. It's affected our entire industry across the board.
So the original agreed price was almost 600. It was 688,716, almost 689,000. Add this 103 to it, we're just short of $792,000 for a fire truck for the
Right.
pumper. I guess what I would ask the board is ultimately you folks are tasked with approving expenditure. It's one thing for me to sit and do a Zoom meeting with this with the manufacturer, but I think in the interest of time, or at least so I can articulate what the board would like to see happen here, I'm certainly open up for discussion. Any thoughts from the board?
I myself am just disgusted with this whole thing. And being the department chair, we had one bid, and this thing was spec'd, and this company bid on it. And all these meetings are taped. They know they were one bid. One bid. And 18 months later, the price goes up $103,000. I think this has bad faith written all over it, and I don't like it at all.
Anyone else?
I think they should hold up their end for the price that they quoted on an RFP. We got six trucks from Chrysler. And how long did those take? And they held the 6 police trucks, and they honored their agreement. Why can't this company do the same thing?
Isn't that the purpose of an agreement?
Well, the contract.
Right.
That's what I think.
So that's what I'm trying to understand is that with the contract, what does it was it state and so forth like that? And has there been discussion with the village attorney in regards to what the contract says, what they can or can't do?
I agree with both of you, and that's where I'll certainly, like I said, I'll share the same with them when I speak with these guys, but
And we don't know to what extent that they try to mitigate this. So they say that there's a cost increase, but they didn't say, does this price of $103,000 and change, is that 100% of their cost increase? Or is the actual cost $150,000 and they've discounted some of that in order to minimize the effect on us? There's nothing in that letter whatsoever about anything other than, hey, if you want it, you're going to pay more for it.
yeah, I mean, like I said, the language, like I just read to everyone, just said that the decision to request your acceptance of a material increase came after much consideration, but as you said, there's nothing that articulates any kind of breakdown or discount or anything like that in consideration of.
Right. Instead, it's just presented to us to sit there and say, oh, okay, instead of saying, that we've had discussion with it and, we're trying to get additional discounts on there or whatever. There's no offer of that whatsoever. It's just we have to dig deeper into our pockets. And for what this is that when we're going to increase the cost of it, $103,000, my opinion is that maybe we should relook at that RFP or the request for the bid or whatever it was, and maybe Seagrave isn't the answer, and we find out maybe somebody else will sit there and compete, especially at this new cost.
I agree with everything Trustee Dalzell just said.
It's a problem sometimes too. I know, Chief, that typically, your fleet is a Seagrave fleet.
The other downside to it is starting that process over again now puts the rig another 2 to 3 years out. Seagrave's not the only one that is in this, delivery mode. Almost every one of them is like this now. It was loss of labor, it was increases material costs, just like, Seagrave's seeing. All of them are doing pretty much the same thing. They're all going back to their customers.
Right.
So
It's always I guess what I was going to say is I can appreciate you folks wanting to keep the fleet uniform as far as that brand name was concerned. At the same time, we have nothing compared to when we put out an RFP and the spec is specific to identify a particular manufacturer, and we get the bid from that manufacturer, and we don't know that, like anything else in this world, how much is a Chevrolet versus a Ford versus a Dodge?
Every manufacturer,
so.
it's a custom piece of equipment.
Right. Right, and that's what I'm saying. We had nothing to compare it to. So, in good faith, we signed these agreements and
I
stuff
understand.
there too.
And part of the reason that we've gone with Seagrave for these years is, they're all stainless steel. They don't rust out on us. So if you look at our rigs, their bodies aren't rusting out on them after 15 years or 10 years, like Pierce's and some of the other ones do. They cost a little bit more, but in the long run, maintenance-wise, or bodywork-wise or paintwork-wise, they hold up a lot better, But we are reaching, 20-plus years on some of our apparatus now.
So which truck would we retire? What year is that?
That one is 21 years old now.
It's 21 years. And that's a backup truck right
That's
now?
a backup, that's a reserve engine now.
Right,
Correct.
okay. What's the next newest engine after that, Chief?
2033, that one's right around 15, so by the time this one...
15 years old?
Yeah,
Okay.
And the service lives are still 20 years?
20 years. That's the NFPA, recommendations on service life for vehicles.
Right. So, I mean, are we really gaining anything if we start having some rust issues at
No,
15
I'm just
years
saying,
when they're going to go to
at
20?
The 12 to 15-year mark, a lot of times these vehicles are rusting out because of the environment that these things run in here in the the Midwest. Road salt, that kind of stuff.
Right.
And with the stainless bodies, they just hold up way better.
I think where I'm having a particularly hard time with the price increase is that when we signed this contract, we were already 18 months into COVID. We had already been dealing with the labor shortages, and the supply chain issues had already been at a big peak. So the fact that we're now 18 months past that and we're getting hit with this price increase at a time when the price was quoted, it was already significantly higher than what we were expecting because of the exact same issues that they're.
Right, COVID was 2020.
And nothing's changed as far as supply chain goes for us. We're seeing, lead times on components and parts that used to take a couple of days are now taking 3 and 4 or 5 weeks to get.
Right, but we're not at an impasse here. So if they, in their letter, said, my opinion, if they said, look, supply chain shortage, labor shortage,
Yep.
we're not going to be able to deliver this for another 12 months. Okay, see you in 12 months. But now they're still not saying anything about a delivery, but what they are saying is 107,000 more bucks, or
103.
103.
Yeah.
So,
I get it.
It seems to be that their primary focus here is a monetary one rather than anything else, and they haven't given us any details other than the usual mantra that we hear from other vendors.
And I'm
But other
hoping,
vendors aren't changing their,
and I'm hoping this conference call that we're having with the executive staff over at Seagrave will eliminate, we'll get some answers to some of this more for you.
because maybe the enticement of canceling an order will sit there and change their minds as well.
Possibly.
All right, thank you, Board. So anyway, I'll share that with, in the meeting we're going to have Friday morning then, Chief. Next, we had a request from the Chief Szynski to attend the Illinois Fire Chiefs Association's annual conference in Peoria from June 14th to June 17th. The annual conference has been, oh, I'm sorry, what am I doing? I'm stealing your thunder.
I just figured I was muzzled.
That's all right. I'm stealing your line, just enjoying reading here, that's all.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Maybe I said enough, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Item number 2, request from Chief Szynski to attend the IFCA Annual Conference in Peoria from June 14th through June 17th. The annual conference has been moved from October to June, and the annual symposium was moved from May to October this year. The conference is budgeted for annually, and that's all I have, sir.
The only thing I would bring up on that topic, though, is that, per ordinance, we have to validate that there is a benefit to the village of Alsip by attending the conference, and that basically the conference pamphlet needs to be included in the request, which we don't currently have. All we have is a request for dollars.
Maybe he can produce, we can get the chief to produce that next week. We're here next week, right?
Yeah, 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
All right, thank you.
So I'll make that request to him.
All right, next we have the Police and Traffic Safety, Trustee Dalzell.
We'll have the presentation of the April 2023 Police Department Monthly Activity Report. And?
Thank you for all attending tonight's presentation. And then the other thing I had was on Friday, we raised $7,219.32 for Special Olympics. So thank you to all the volunteers that came out that day. And thankfully, the weather pretty much cooperated.
Chief, we were tripping over state troopers over on Pulaski. Those guys did a great job, Sean, coming out to help and stuff then, too. So
Yeah, it was a lot of them there.
yeah. You put all those county mounting hats together, man. It was like a sea of green going across and stuff, yeah, too.
I take one of the hats, but
Trying to get a hat, huh? No, very nice group of officers that came out, and no, I was at all the different venues. So no, and congratulations, Chief. Good job with over $7,000 raised, huh? Good. Thank you. Next, we have the Public Work and Boat Launch Committee.
No report tonight, Mayor.
Okay. And then, actually, real quick, Mike, can you tell everybody, as far as the street resurfacing, I saw they're putting down the binder so far, right?
Yeah,
And
correct. They put down the binder surface to both 118th, 119th, and then Avon and Lawler. They anticipate coming out next week to put a center seam down on that, and then they'll put down the top surface asphalt.
I meant to ask you, too, I was swamped all day today, but did they address that part on Laramie that kept popping on us? Yeah, because that didn't look, I looked at, they scraped it and...
Yeah, it looks like they put the binder down on it.
Yeah.
and-
Yeah, they patched it before putting the binder down.
Did, okay.
Yeah.
You know what, trustee, they did. I did see those guys out there cutting. I'm sorry, I did see that.
Yeah.
Because that was what you and I kept talking about, is we felt maybe it was taking on water from underneath, holding it in between the binder and the top layer, and then
Yeah.
snapping the top on the thing all
It was
the time,
patched
yeah.
before.
Right.
the binder
Okay,
went
you
down.
throw a heavy truck on there, maybe just where he doesn't
Right.
belong, and we got a broken street and everything then, too, so. And then the other, with that major hole that we fixed in that sanitary sewer, that looks great.
Yeah.
After that thing was a mess. I was
Yeah.
out there a couple times. We had pumps running galore.
Yeah, it was a major break. Luckily, we caught it in time before it became a problem in that entire subdivision, so
Yeah, no, great job, Mike. Thank you.
thank you.
And tell your guys, too, great job out there, Greg and everybody else that was out there working with them.
Definitely.
I was out there the day they were hydro excavating with the water. That's a messy job and stuff.
Yeah.
You were actually digging with water and stuff
Yes.
there, too. That's amazing. Thank you. So we'll go to our water and sewer report. Trustee Nava Esparza.
Thank you. I have the discussion of approving the water rate ordinance effective June 1st, 2023. I did receive information from Commissioner Tribun, but if you wanted to.
So the proposed ordinance is just, City of Chicago's increasing 5%. The CPI for 2022 went up 5.16%. So I'm proposing the same thing, just the 5%, across the board, with the exception of Palos and Crestwood, which is, governed by the contract. So that's calculated separately. And there actually increases about 5.25%.
Dan, we already have this indexed, right? We have this in ordinance form already?
Correct.
So
It's
basically,
just-
you're just informing us of the change. We're
That
not
and
increasing
putting-
anything here. It's going to increase, but it's per ordinance. It does that along with the increase
Yeah,
from
the
the city of
current
Chicago.
current ordinance, stipulates that we're following the CPIW for the previous calendar year, and this is just putting the numbers in the ordinance.
There's no profit to us on this. We're just following our increase. We have to pass along that we get from our supplier being the city of Chicago.
Correct.
Gotcha. Danny, could you explain too real quick? I just got this afternoon, you were helping me with, was I signed off on that loan for, the EPA.
Yeah, so in 2021, we completed a water main replacement project in Keeler Trip area along 119th and 120th. All of that was funded by an IEPA loan. Well, we just signed the loan closing documents today, so we'll finally start repaying that loan. We've got to submit those documents to the EPA.
And we've got that budgeted array though too, Dan?
Correct.
And that was like 2.6 million, something like that?
Yeah, the loan was for $2.2 million with $400,000 in forgiveness.
And forgiveness, right.
Correct.
That's amazing too. That's great. The EPA does that for us.
Yep.
Okay. Thanks, Dan. And I did take care of all that. You'll get a copy over and stuff then too.
Any questions on the ordinance? Can I put that through to the attorney for preparation for next?
Sure. Why don't you send over to Joe Kankar, please?
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay.
Danny, not to, just wondering if you or the mayor had heard if we had any updates on the new water,
The joint water project.
joint water.
I have not. The last time we got an update for the South.
Oh, we just talked about that. They just had a
Southwest
meeting,
Water
and I
Agency.
told them, I go, how about some minutes for us here and stuff then too?
Yeah, we can certainly try to.
I'll try and have it for you next week.
Great.
They just had an updated meeting, and I asked for a report on that and stuff then too. Right. From the Southland Water Agency you're talking.
That's what it was.
Okay.
Right.
Next, we had the Building and Health Report. Trustee Peretta?
No report this evening, Mayor.
All right. Thank you. Next, Human Resource and Insurance. Trustee Murphy?
Other than the brand-new finance director starting, I have no report, sir.
Okay. We'll go to Special Committee Reports, Economic Development, Trustee Nava Esparza.
No report, Mayor.
Okay. Village Property, thank you. Village Properties, Trustee McLaurin.
Within everybody's packet, we have the activity report for the month of April. Just to highlight some of the items. Oops. At Heritage 1, we currently have 10 vacancies. 3 new tenants and 8 units were recently remodeled. And at Heritage 2, we currently have 11 vacancies, 1 new tenant, and 10 remodels are in process. And that's all I have at this time.
Okay. Thanks. Thank you. Ordinance and legislation, Trustee Paretta.
No report this evening, Mayor.
Okay. And then we'll go to Planning and Zoning and Licenses Committee.
I have a presentation of a list of licenses dated May 8th of 2023 through May 19th of 2023. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Okay. Did anybody have any presentations, petitions, or communications they want to share? Any unfinished business? Any new business? Then I need to ask that we adjourn to a closed session just to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the public body or legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2, Chapter 1. Can I get a motion and a second to do that?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Roll call number 1 to adjourn to closed session, Trustee Dalzell.
Yes.
Trustee Juarez Mendoza is absent. Trustee McLaughlin.
Yes.
Trustee Murphy.
Yes.
Trustee Nava Esparza.
Yes.
Trustee Paretta.
Yes.
Motion carries to adjourn to closed session.
Thank you. The time now is 8:24 p.m. Thank you for joining us this evening. I got to ask that we clear the room for a closed session with the executive session, and please enjoy the rest of your night. Thanks, folks.